Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. In fact, Victor Mature detested him more than anybody. Mature Victor was born. Victor John reached adulthood on January 29, 1913, in Kentucky's Louisville. Mature Victor John was raised in a working-class household. His Morello Galindo Mature, the father, was an Cutler, who was born in Austria, and his mother, Clara P. Ackley, was of Swiss descent. Born in a humble household, Mature created early in life a strong work ethic, taking on a range of tasks, such as a door-to-door confectionery sales and employment as an elevator driver to assist with his family. In spite of these modest origins, Mature fostered the hope for a more glitzy existence. Following a brief period at the Military Institute of Kentucky, and he worked at a number of odd jobs in Chicago, chose to relocate to California in the West, wishing to go into acting. He went to the well-known Pasadena Community Playhouse Place, where many talented actors train, where he refined his acting abilities and attracted the attention of Hollywood star scouts. The film career of Victor Mature started in the late 1930s, but it was since, during the 1940s and 1950s, he really became well known. He made money early, known for his part in the 1940 film 1 Million BC, wherein his powerful physical presence. He was a man of expressive features and exceptional. His performance, in spite of the scant conversation in the movie, which showed his capacity to attract attention and show both vulnerability and strength at the same time. When World War II was going on, Mature stopped him from thriving, career to help his nation. He joined within the US Coast Guard and spent a number of years carrying out risky responsibilities on troop transport vessels. His patriotism and the readiness to sacrifice individual recognition for national service gained him a great deal of respect in both in Hollywood and the general population. After serving in the military, Mature went back to the screen and swiftly restored his position as a top man. He was incredibly versatile, appearing in a variety of genres, including westerns, biblical epics, and film noirs, as well as romantic dramas. He accomplished significant praise for his portrayal of the forlorn fur trapper in Clementine, My Darling, John Ford's 1946 film, in which his Doc Holliday's delicate characterization demonstrated a new variety in his acting. Additionally, Mature became a mainstay of the epic movies that were popular in the 1950s. Particularly, in Delilah and Samson, Cecil B. Dale was the director in 1949. His representation of the strongman from the Bible, Samson, in opposition to Delilah, by Hedy Lamarr, displayed his body and screen presence in a position that has subsequently evolved into iconic. Other noteworthy performances comprising his role as Demetrius in the Robe 1953, as well as its follow-up Demetrius and Gladiators 1954, where he introduced to a Roman slave both dignity and Paeos, became a martyr for Christianity. Despite his achievements, Victor Mature frequently had a welcome sense of modesty regarding his acting prowess. Known for "I'm self-deprecating," he once stated, "I have 64 films to prove that I am not an actress, it." However, this modesty just made him to co-workers and admirers. Mature was well known for his expertise, a sense of humor, and relaxed demeanor on sight, attributes that made him a preferred choice for filmmakers and co-stars. Behind the scenes, he led a comparatively quiet existence, favoring the presence of family members and close friends to Hollywood's glamour and glamour nighty. Golf was one of his passions. He once made a joke about retiring from performing since it got in the way of his playing golf and being outside. Appropriate activity for a man who frequently portrayed tough, daring people. As the 1960s drew near, Mature started to give up positions of leadership, slowly giving up performing to concentrate on a more peaceful, relaxed existence. He made sporadic roles in movies and television throughout the 1960s and 1970s, frequently making fun of his own screen image of light-hearted comedy. His last, the 1984 parody, was the movie appearance Firepower, and then he retired completely. Mature spent his final years living in ease and relative privacy, a long way scream from the bright light of his prior employment. Despite being widely praised, Mature frequently minimized his personal acting skills with traits, self-deprecating humor and modesty. He announced remark that he wasn't an actor, as seen by my 64 flicks. His humility won him over his co-workers and supporters alike, and stood in a stern contrast to the inflated egos that frequently connected to celebrities in Hollywood. Victor Mature's private life was equally vibrant, as exciting and lengthy as his lengthy career in Hollywood. Throughout his lifetime, Mature has 5 marriages, each relationship that denotes a unique chapter in his narrative. His first spouse was Frances Charles, a partnership that started in 1938. But the union was brief and eventually annulled in 1940. Information regarding Frances Charles is scant in comparison, but the annulment indicated that the partnership might have encountered significant incompatibilities or outside forces that made continuing not possible. Currently, Mature's acting career was only starting to take off, and the requirements of making himself known in the cutthroat Hollywood industry may have had a part in the breakdown of their union. The second marriage of Mature was to the widow Martha Stevenson Kemp of Hal Kemp, the well-known big band conductor. They, in 1941, when Mature was married, becoming well known as a movie star, similar to 1 million BC. Their partnership, but barely persisted until 1943, and resulted in a divorce. Martha's history in the music industry and the emergence of Mature's Hollywood fame turned them into a dazzling couple for a short while. However, like many celebrity unions, the demands of public life, varying obstacles in one's work and personal life, their union was irreparably strained. In Victor Mature married Dorothy in 1948, Barry Stanford. This third union correlated with an especially important time in Mature's career, with songs like Delilah and Samson just around the bend. Victor and Dorothy being together for 7 years before divorcing in 1955. There is not much information available to the public regarding the life of Dorothy Stanford Barry, although, while they were married, Mature's notoriety and the rigorous job and travel schedule. His movie roles demands could have caused a great deal of stress on them connection. Additionally, it's feasible that Mature's over-the-top character so made it clear throughout his public life, challenging for him to sustain over time interpersonal connections during this hectic years. His fourth spouse was Erwick, Adrian Joy starting in 1959. This marriage lasted for 10 years, resulting in a divorce in 1969. This was a time of transition for Mature on a personal level and professionally, as he was progressively leaving the fast-paced environment of behaving and adopting a more laid-back way of life. Adriana Erwick was not as well known. A mount in contrast to some of Mature's past partners, and thus more confidential dynamic might have worked for him at first. However, despite living a more tranquil life, at some point the marriage ended, possibly as a result of shifting priorities and changing individual objectives throughout this phase of Mature's existence. At last, Victor Mature made lifelong friends with Loretta Gay Sabana, is a successful opera vocalist. In 1974, they were married and stayed together until Mature passed away. In 1999, Mature's longest and most extensive long-lasting union, characterized by consistency and his only child's birth, a Victoria, a daughter born in 1975 when Mature was 62. Loretta's career in the arts and opera could have provided them with a shared understanding and our respect for one another's abilities. Victoria, their daughter, was motivated by her. Following in the footsteps of his mother, became an opera singer herself, carrying on the artistic heritage of the family. Later interviews revealed that Victoria, loathingly of her dad's warmth, humor, and passion for life, creating an image of grow up to be a loving family man in his subsequent years. Apart from the more extensive, unlike real-life characters he frequently depicted on screen. Past his unions, Victor Mature, furthermore, had noteworthy romantic relationships that attracted the attention of the public. He used to be engaged to the glamorous Hollywood Rita Hayworth, a famous actress from the time most recognizable actresses. There, the connection was serious enough to result in a tender wedding, but Hayworth eventually ended things and got married to a famous director, Orson Welles, instead. This split had a significant impact on Mature at the time, but he persisted in keeping a valiant manner in public. Additionally, mature was actress Anne Shirley is engaged to another, the dazzling glamour of the 1930s and 1940s movie. Even nevertheless, their engagement also did not result in matrimony. It represented Matures standing in the Hollywood's golden social circle, a light in his heyday. Mature Victor, the tough and charming star of vintage movies such as My Darling, Samson, and Delilah Clementine, was well known all over Hollywood for his laid-back demeanor, self-deprecating humor, as well as a general absence of pretense. In contrast to many of his peers who considered themselves extremely honestly, Mature frequently made jokes about his own acting prowess, renowned for quipping, "I've got 64, but I'm not an actor," images to support it. However, in spite of his repute for being amiable, one individual was present in the whole entertainment sector for whom Victor Mature had a profound and obeying hatred. Burton Richard. Mature's animosity, since Burton wasn't born with petty competitive competition or jealousy. Despite Burton's quick ascent to fame as a Shakespearean actor with classical training, undoubtedly stood in contrast to Mature's more popularized portrayal of an action hero. Rather, it resulted from a complicated combination of intellectual opposition, personal contempt, distinctions, as well as particular instances that had a profound effect on Mature. Burton was seen by Mature as the pinnacle of all he found objectionable about Hollywood's the 1950s new serious acting crowd and the 1960s. Self-centered, ostentatious, and contemptuous of the type of entertainment Mature thought that the typical moviegoer actually desired. The origins of Mature's hostility were planted in Burton's direction during the Robe's 1953 production, the first movie ever made available in widescreen cinemascope structure. Burton portrayed the tormented Roman Marcellus Gallo, the Tribune, although Mature played the role of the converted Demetrius, slave. Despite being a commercial, the movie triumphed and received a lot of applause, though the two men's connection was cold, at most. Burton, during the prime of his cerebral haughtiness, according to denigrated Mature, considering him to be a model is hardly more than a gorgeous face, became an actor with a restricted range, and absence of official training was below disdain. Burton didn't do anything to conceal his contempt, making fun of Mature's performance behind his back, as well as on multiple occasions, hurling caustic jabs regarding Mature's toned body being his sole genuine talent. For adults who'd worked hard to establish a reputable career without the advantages of elite theatre schools or a experience with Shakespearean theatre, Burton's mocking demeanour wasn't only offensive, it seemed like a kick-in-the-face toll that he stood for. Mature thought acting was about establishing a relationship with somebody's audience, amusing them, and affecting them emotionally, as well as narrating tales in a manner that spoke to common people, not about flaunting one's capacity to deliver tormented or in declamatory pentameter monologues. For him, Burton represented a Hollywood's perilous trend toward pretension, elitism, and alienation of regular viewers. Their off-screen persona exchanges only strengthened Mature's disdain. Burton, infamously excessive drinking, would frequently show up on set, either somewhat still or hungover, inebriated, slurring his words or putting things off filming. Although Mature himself he took satisfaction in occasionally drinking, himself on acting professionally when it arrived at work, he observed Burton's actions as being not just inconsiderate to the actors and crew, as well as an insult to the fundamentals of professionalism. Mature, trustworthy, diligent, and manner was more important than any crucial praise or quantity of honors. Fueling up, the tempestuous Burton was brought to the fire. Connection to Elizabeth, an actress Taylor, who is mature and open-minded, discussed. The shocking, headline-grabbing relationship, which developed during Cleopatra's filming and ultimately resulted in Taylor and Burton's extremely well-publicized unions and separations, embodied the type of conceit that comes with maturity, moral decay, and narcissism that he thought to be contaminating Hollywood. Mature, with a modest lifestyle. Despite his notoriety and inclination for spending time spent mingling on the golf course, at raucous gatherings, viewed Burton's way of life as imprudent and uncivilized, a betrayal of he believed that actors obliged their occupation. Later on, even as Burton's professional life fluctuated and his personal issues become increasingly noticeable, Mature's contempt remained unwavering. When questioned about certain actors in interviews with those he had collaborated, Mature would occasionally make subtle remarks regarding actors who believed that the world ought to center on their brilliance or those who never abandoned them on stage. Unambiguous, gives Burton a nod without mentioning him. Straight. In private, among friends, according to reports, Mature was more direct, characterizing Burton as a haughty blowhard and the most egregious impostor, inebriated who believed he was Aristotle. There was no guy in Victor Mature, who harbored numerous grievances. He was well known for leaving Hollywood during the height of his success. He retired in comfort to sail, play golf, and take pleasure in his personal existence free of regrets. However, Richard Burton was still the only person who could ever elicit genuine rage from him decades later. In a community full with brief conflicts and friendships that typically diminished over time, Mature's Burton was the target of particular hostility as remarkably long-lasting and profound. A reminder that the most relaxed guy could look for someone who is really intolerable. Victor Mature departed from this life on August 4, 1999, following a protracted fight with leukemia. He passed away quietly at his rancho home. California's Santa Fe is a serene and wealthy neighborhood close to San Diego, where he had lived for a long time during his retirement. Mature was 86 when he passed away. Even though had a lengthy and successful career, in his later years, Hollywood had, mainly avoiding the limelight, favoring a private life and recreational activities, such as golfing and interacting with pals. His demise signaled the conclusion of a period for fans who thought of him as one of the greatest prominent figures in vintage Hollywood films. Well known for his tough appearance, unique voice, and unforgettable performances in a variety of parts, from noir to biblical epics thrillers. After his passing, Mature's the body was returned to his Louisville, Kentucky's birthplace. He had consistently kept robust emotional connections to all of his life. He was buried in the elderly family, St. Michael's cemetery site, an ancient Catholic cemetery situated in the city. Notably, his burial is marked by a remarkable likeness of the Angel of Grief, a well-known sculpture from the 19th century, first produced by William, an artist, Wetmore's tale in honor of his spouse. The memorial that shows an angel in tears fallen over a tomb in grief is a poignant and heartbreaking representation of loss and remembering. The fact that it was at Mature's, the cemetery site, displays more than just the sorrow of his supporters and family, but also enhances the classic and creative beauty of his last resting place. The sculptures, the somber elegance is a potent thenoring, Mature's lasting influence, his family's loyalty, and the profound feeling of love that his acquaintances felt for him, either admired him in person or virtually, in acknowledgement of his enduring efforts. Regarding the film industry, Victor Mature received a star in recognition on the renowned Walk of Fame in Hollywood. The address of star is 6780 Hollywood Boulevard, a prominent location in the center of Hollywood, where millions of tourists go past each year. The Walk of Fame is only available to those who have made substantial effects in the domains of television, radio, music, movies, and live performance. Additionally, Mature's involvement in its accolades confirm his significance in history of film. During his career that lasted for several years, Mature appeared in a number of wildly popular and successful movies, like My Darling, as Samson and Delilah, 1949 Clementine, Kiss of Death, 1946, 1947, followed by The Robe in 1953. His roles frequently demonstrated his adaptability as an actor, with the ability to play heroes, anti-heroes, and intricate layers characters. The Hollywood Star Boulevard is still an enduring honoring Mature's accomplishments, and that he left an enduring impression on the entertainment sector. It functions as a location where supporters can honor his life's contributions, and keep in mind the talent, charm, and charisma that bringing Victor Mature to the silver screen.